The Panama Canal, once the beating heart of global maritime trade, can no longer fulfill its promise of seamless connectivity between the Atlantic and the Pacific Oceans. For over a century, this engineering marvel has been more than just a transient route. It has stood as a symbol of progress or a cornerstone of international trade and a prize of immense geopolitical power. Yet, today, cracks are beginning to appear in the legacy of this iconic waterway. Environmental pressures, economic strains, and aging infrastructure are pushing the canal towards an uncertain future. The question is no longer whether this foundation of global commerce will face challenges, but how these challenges will reshape the flow of goods and power across the globe. Constructed between 1904 and 1914, the Panama Canal revolutionized maritime navigation by providing a direct route between the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans, eliminating the arduous and time-consuming journey around the southern tip of South America via the Drake Passage or Cape Horn. This strategic shortcut not only reduced travel time by approximately 8,000 nautical miles and 18 days of voyage, but also significantly lowered shipping costs, enhancing the efficiency of global trade. The canal's strategic importance extends beyond commercial interests. Historically, it has been a vital asset for military logistics, enabling rapid deployment of naval forces between the Atlantic and Pacific theaters. During the Cuban Missile Crisis in 1962, the United States leveraged the canal to swiftly reposition warships, underscoring its role in national security. Similarly, during the Korean and Vietnam Wars, the canal facilitated the movement of troops and equipment, underscoring its enduring military relevance. Originally under U.S. control, the Panama Canal was a symbol of American engineering prowess and geopolitical influence. However, sovereignty over the canal was transferred to Panama in 1979, with full control handed over in 2000. Despite this transition, the canal remains of paramount interest to the United States, especially in the context of potential great power conflicts, such as hypothetical confrontation with China over Taiwan. The canal's ability to enable rapid naval redeployment remains a strategic asset that the U.S. Navy continues to value highly. Economically, the Panama Canal is indispensable to Panama's prosperity. In 2022 alone, the canal generated a staggering $4.32 billion in revenue, equivalent to approximately 65% of Panama's gross domestic product, which is also referred to as GDP. This revenue influx positions Panama as one of the wealthiest and most developed nations in Latin America, largely thanks to the canal's operations. The canal not only supports the national economy through tolls and fees, but also drives employment and stimulates ancillary industries, making it the livelihood of the Panamanian state. Given the heavy reliance, the canal's operational stability is crucial for Panama's economic health. Any disruption threatens not only the global trade network, but also the nation's economic stability, potentially plunging Panama into severe financial distress and undermining its developmental achievements. In recent years, the Panama Canal has been beset by a severe maritime crisis exacerbated by environmental factors, particularly climate change-induced droughts. This crisis coincides with another significant disruption in the Bab el-Mandeb Strait between Yemen and the Horn of Africa, where the Houthi rebel faction, supported by Iran, has targeted numerous merchant ships with missiles and drones. These concurrent crises represent unprecedented challenges to global maritime logistics, severely impacting two of the world's most critical trade choke points. The Houthi attacks have forced shipping companies to divert their vessels around the entire African continent, a route that adds substantial distance and time to voyages between East Asia and Europe. In response, the United States and the United Kingdom have launched aerial bombing campaigns against the Houthis to restore security in the Bab el-Mandeb Strait and reinstate the Suez Canal as a viable trade route. Simultaneously, the Panama Canal is grappling with its own set of problems, primarily stemming from severe drought conditions that threaten its operational capacity. Unlike the conflict-ridden Red Sea region, the challenges facing the Panama Canal are rooted in natural and geographical factors, making them inherently more complex and difficult to resolve. The primary issue undermining the Panama Canal's functionality is a severe water shortage caused by an unprecedented drought. The canal's operation relies heavily on freshwater reservoirs, primarily Lake Gatun, which feeds the lock system essential for raising and lowering ships between the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. Each transit consumes approximately 52 million gallons of fresh water, necessitating continuous replenishment through rainfall. Panama, typically a rainy country with distinct wet and dry seasons, has been experiencing unusually prolonged and severe droughts exacerbated by the El Niño climate phenomena. In 2023, an exceptionally strong El Niño event disrupted traditional rainfall patterns, resulting in a 41% decrease in precipitation for October, the country's rainiest month, marking the lowest rainfall levels since record-keeping began in 1950s. This deficiency has critically lowered Lake Gatun's water levels, impeding the canal's ability to operate at full capacity. The situation is further aggravated by climate change, which has intensified the frequency and the severity of El Niño events. Projections indicate a 60% likelihood that the current El Niño will extend into the summer of 2024, potentially prolonging the drought conditions and delaying the replenishment of Lake Gatun. Without adequate rainfall, the canal faces the grim prospect of dwindling water reserves, threatening its very existence. In response to the water crisis, the Panama Canal Authority has implemented stringent measures to conserve water and manage the reduced supply. These measures include limiting the number of daily ship transits and imposing restrictions on the cargo load of vessels to minimize water usage. Under normal circumstances, the canal accommodates approximately 36 ships per day. However, due to the ongoing drought, this number has been progressively reduced to as few as 18 ships per day, representing a 50% decrease. These restrictions have led to significant delays and congestion at the canal, with average wait times for ships without reservations ballooning from 2 days to over 11 days. In extreme cases, vessels have been delayed for up to 23 days, making alternative routes around South America or Africa more time and cost-effective. Such delays disrupt global supply chains, increase shipping costs, and contribute to inflationary pressures worldwide as higher transportation expenses are passed on to consumers. The economic ramifications extend beyond immediate shipping delays. Panama's economy, heavily reliant on canal revenues, is under threat as reduced transit volumes translate to diminished income. This scenario poses a dire dilemma for the Panamanian government: prioritize the canal's operation to sustain economic inflows or allocate scarce water resources to meet the population's drinking water needs. Current policies have favored the canal, but prolonged water shortages may force the government to reconsider this balance, potentially jeopardizing both the canal and the nation's economic stability. The Panama Canal's vulnerabilities have spurred renewed interests in developing alternative trade routes across the Americas. These alternatives aim to mitigate the risk of relying solely on the Panama Canal by providing additional pathways for maritime trade. Among the most notable proposals are the Bi-Oceanic Corridor in Paraguay, the Inter-Oceanic Railway in Colombia, the Nicaragua Canal, and the Inter-Oceanic Corridor of the Isthmus of Tehuantepec in Mexico. The Bi-Oceanic Corridor is an ambitious infrastructure project envisioned to traverse lower South America, connecting the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans through a network of highways and bridges across Paraguay, Argentina, Brazil, and Chile. This corridor aims to enable overland transport of goods by trucks, offering a direct alternative to maritime shipping through the Panama Canal. Paraguay's Gran Chaco region, characterized by its challenging geography, with the towering Andes Mountains to the west and the dense Amazon rainforest to the north, has historically been a significant barrier to regional integration and overland trade. The Bi-Oceanic Corridor seeks to overcome these obstacles by constructing over 3,000 kilometers of roads and bridges, facilitating the movement of goods between key economic hubs. Upon completion, the corridor is predicted to significantly reduce transportation time and costs for South American exports to Asia and imports from Europe. For instance, agricultural products from southwestern Brazil, and beef from Argentina can be swiftly transported to Pacific ports in Chile, bypassing the Panama Canal. Similarly, imports from Asia can be efficiently routed through Chilean ports to their final destinations in Brazil and Argentina. Moreover, the corridor is strategically positioned to support the burgeoning lithium industry in the Lithium Triangle, a region encompassing parts of Chile, Bolivia, and Argentina, which holds over half of the world's known lithium reserves. As demand for lithium-ion batteries escalates with the global shift towards green energy, the bioceanic corridor could become a critical conduit for transporting lithium from extraction sites to manufacturing centers and global markets.
Paraguay envisions the corridor as a transformative infrastructure project that could propel the nation into a central role in global trade, challenging the Panama Canal's dominance by offering significant savings in travel time and costs, potentially reducing logistics expenses by a third. The corridor could attract substantial shipping volumes, eroding the canal's market share and revenue.
Colombia presents another promising alternative with its proposed interoceanic railway, designed to link the country's Atlantic and Pacific coasts through the Andes Mountains. Colombia currently operates 4 separate freight rail networks, each confined to specific regions due to the country's mountainous terrain. The interoceanic railway aims to bridge these networks, facilitating seamless overland transport of goods across the continent. The project entails constructing nearly 200 kilometers of additional track, including 11 kilometers of tunnels to navigate the challenging topography of the Andes. Expected to be commissioned before 2026, the railway will enable the rapid movement of freight between Colombia's Caribbean and Pacific ports. This connectivity is anticipated to transform Colombia into a significant hub for global trade in the Western Hemisphere, providing an efficient alternative to maritime shipping through the Panama Canal. By enabling direct overland transport of goods, the interoceanic railway can reduce dependency on maritime routes, offering faster and potentially more cost-effective logistics solutions. This development is particularly relevant for industries reliant on timely delivery, such as perishable goods, pharmaceuticals, and high-value electronics. Additionally, the railway can enhance Colombia's economic integration with neighboring countries, fostering regional cooperation and trade synergy. Among the proposed alternatives, the Nicaragua Canal represents the most direct maritime competitor to the Panama Canal. Envisioned as a canal traversing Nicaragua's narrow isthmus, this project seeks to provide another significant shortcut between the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. Measuring approximately 270 kilometers, the Nicaragua Canal would be longer than both Panama Canal and the Suez Canal. The concept of a Nicaraguan canal dates back centuries, with serious development efforts resuming in 2012 when the Nicaraguan government established the Nicaragua Canal Authority. In 2013, the construction bid was awarded to the Hong Kong Nicaragua Canal Development Company, HKND, led by Chinese billionaire Wang Jing. The project, estimated at $50 billion, promised to double Nicaragua's GDP by establishing a major global trade route. However, the Nicaragua Canal has faced insurmountable challenges. Environmental concerns, such as the potential salinization of Lake Nicaragua, the country's largest freshwater reservoir, have sparked widespread opposition among local farmers and environmentalists. Protests against land expropriation and ecological disruption have stalled progress, with significant delays hindering construction efforts. Furthermore, geopolitical tensions have complicated the project's viability. The Nicaraguan government under President Daniel Ortega has maintained a strained relationship with the United States, exacerbated by authoritarian governance and economic sanctions. These factors have deterred international investment and collaboration, leading to project stagnation. The collapse of HKND following the Chinese stock market crash in 2015 further derailed the Nicaragua Canal's prospects. Wang Jing's financial decline from a multi-billion-dollar fortune to a fraction thereof halted funding and construction, leaving the project in limbo. Given Nicaragua's pervasive corruption and political instability, the likelihood of the canal becoming operational in the foreseeable future remains bleak, rendering it an impractical rival to the Panama Canal. Mexico offers a viable overland alternative through the interoceanic corridor of the Isthmus of Tehuantepec. a project aimed at revitalizing and modernizing the region's rail infrastructure. Historically, Mexico's narrow isthmus of Tehuantepec has been a strategic transit point, exemplified by the early 20th century railways that predated the Panama Canal. These railways, however, fell into disuse following the canal's opening and subsequent political turmoil during the Mexican Revolution. In 2020, under the administration of President Andrés Manuel López Obrador, which is also referred to as AMLO, the Mexican government announced plans to resurrect and enhance this corridor. The project involves investing $2.85 billion in the modernization and expansion of railways connecting key ports on both the Atlantic and Pacific sides. The revamped rail network aims to facilitate high-capacity passenger and freight transport, linking the ports of Coatzacoalcos on the Gulf of Mexico and Salina Cruz on the Pacific coast. The interoceanic corridor of the Isthmus of Tehuantepec is projected to handle up to 300,000 cargo containers annually by 2028, with full operational capacity reaching 1.4 million containers by 2033. This capacity positions the corridor as a formidable competitor to the Panama Canal, potentially capturing a significant portion of the canal's trade volume. The corridor's strategic location also supports Mexico's economic development, particularly in the southern regions, by improving infrastructure, creating jobs, and fostering industrial growth.
Unlike the Nicaragua Canal, the Mexican corridor benefits from a more stable political environment and robust economic policies aimed at attracting investment and enhancing trade connectivity. If successfully implemented, this corridor could offer a faster and more cost-effective alternative to the Panama Canal, challenging its dominance and reshaping the landscape of global maritime trade.
The governance of environmental challenges and emerging alternatives presents a critical juncture for the Panama Canal. Prolonged droughts and reduced water availability threatens the canal's operational capacity, undermining its reliability and efficiency. Concurrently, the development of alternative trade routes across the Americas introduces competitive pressures that could erode the canal's market share and revenue streams. Economic impact on Panama. The decline of the canal could severely impact Panama's economy, threatening GDP, government revenue, public investment, and increasing unemployment, especially in canal-related sectors. This downturn may also strain social infrastructure, complicating funding for education, healthcare, and essential services. Given its reliance on the canal, Panama must diversify its economy, though this transition is complex and time-consuming. The decline of the Panama Canal will require changes in maritime logistics and supply chains. Shipping companies may favor alternative routes for better reliability and cost-effectiveness, leading to increased traffic through the Suez Canal and new overland corridors. This shift could create a competitive environment that encourages innovation, but may also raise infrastructure costs and logistical complexities as trade networks adjust. Addressing the Panama Canal's decline requires a multifaceted approach that encompasses environmental management, infrastructure upgrades, and strategic economic planning. To mitigate the impact of droughts, the Panama Canal Authority must implement comprehensive water management strategies. Proposals include damming nearby rivers to create additional reservoirs, drilling channels to divert water from other sources, and investing in advanced water recycling technologies to optimize usage. These measures, however, involve significant financial investments and potential environmental trade-offs, necessitating careful consideration and stakeholder engagement. Modernizing the canal's infrastructure is essential to enhance its resilience against environmental fluctuations. Potential upgrades include expanding lock capacities, improving water efficiency through innovative engineering solutions, and integrating sustainable practices to reduce the canal's ecological footprint. Such initiatives not only bolster the canal's operational capacity, but also reinforce its position as a vital global trade artery. For Panama, diversifying the national economy is crucial to reduce dependency on the canal. Investing in sectors such as tourism, finance, logistics, and technology can create new revenue streams and enhance economic resilience. Additionally, fostering regional trade partnerships and leveraging the canal's strategic location for value-added services can stimulate economic growth and stability. The Panama Canal faces growing challenges from climate change, water scarcity, and emerging trade routes like the Bioceanic Corridor and Interoceanic Railway. These alternatives could reshape global trade networks, threatening the canal's dominance. To stay relevant, Panama must balance environmental stewardship, infrastructure innovation, and economic diversification. The canal's future serves as a key case study in resilience, highlighting the need for visionary leadership and sustainable development to maintain its role in global trade.